What a shit race this is, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's just my luck. How many places did I just lose?
At P15.
I know I'm P15, but how many places did I just lose now?
There's 2 places.
5?
2 places.
Can you imagine a 7-time world champion lowering his voice, putting down the wheel and just giving up? What kind of message can carry more weight than a scream? Today we are going to discover the real meaning behind the quietest, but most painful phrase that Lewis Hamilton has said in years. The first thing that leaked from the radio was a phrase as simple as it was heartbreaking. "I don't know how we made the car worse." This was not constructive criticism. It was not a message with anger or frustration. It was something much deeper. It was a confirmation of defeat. A kind of unintentional confession, as if at that moment he had stopped being a pilot and become a witness to failure. What followed was even more alarming. As he crossed the finish line, his engineer asked him for a comment, something to close the race, a minimal phrase for the audience or even for the mechanics who worked for hours without a break. But the response was a cold dagger. "I have no message. I'm sorry." And then, silence. A silence that lasted seconds but seemed eternal. This type of reaction is extremely rare in Hamilton. Throughout his career, he has been an emotional, expressive, even theatrical driver in moments of tension. From his cries of euphoria after an unforgettable pole position to his motivational speeches to his team on the radio. Always, even in adversity, he transmitted life. But here in Qatar, for the first time, it was heard empty. And that emptiness was not coincidental. It was the result of accumulated weeks of shattered expectations. Ferrari had sold the world the idea of a new era. That the arrival of Hamilton would be the spark that would transform the SF25 into a weapon capable of rivaling McLaren, Red Bull, or Mercedes. But the reality was technical humiliation disguised as progress. The disappointment was even more intense because this was not just any GP. It was the third of the season. The adaptation could no longer be blamed. The excuse of the weather or the tires no longer worked. The car just didn't work, neither in qualifying nor in the race. And the most serious thing, there were no signs that it was going to improve. What made this moment even more devastating was the lack of emotional reaction. He didn't scream. He didn't blame. He didn't demand. He simply accepted the unacceptable. As if he no longer expected anything. As if he had understood that, at least at this stage, Ferrari was not the path to his 8th title, but the cemetery of that ambition. At that precise moment, many in the paddock and in the press began to talk about something that is not usually discussed openly in this sport. The emotional disconnection of a driver with his team. Because a driver can have a bad car. He may have a bad streak. But when you lose faith, there is no data, no improvements, no simulators that can recover it. And Qatar was exactly that, the place where Hamilton stopped believing. Not in his talent, not in his legacy, but in the project that was to give him one last chance to make history. That is the true sound of disenchantment. It's not a broken engine. It's not a top. It's not an accident. He is a man who has won everything, saying he has nothing to say. When Ferrari announced its lineup for 2025 with Lewis Hamilton on board, the excitement was immediate. It was not only the most winning name in recent history, but also a symbol of discipline, excellence, and demand. A man who, just by joining a team, forces standards to be raised. But that illusion began to erode from the first green light. What should have been an evolved SF25, the result of years of development and a supposedly solid post-2024 transition, ended up being a car that not only did not take a step forward, but went backwards. And it's not just about track performance. What we are seeing at Ferrari is a structural collapse. A design that does not understand itself. A machine that, race after race, disobeys its own engineers. During the 2024 season, Ferrari had made significant progress. Their strategic management improved, they reduced pit errors, and they finished second in the Constructors' Championship. Logic said that 2025 would be the year of consolidation. But the SF25 has proven the opposite. It is erratic in mid-corner, unpredictable in braking, ineffective in traction, and dangerously unstable with crosswind changes. Hamilton's line, "I don't know how we made the car worse," is not hyperbole. It is a real sentence. Because the car not only failed in adaptation to the Qatar circuit, but it did so on all fronts. Tire temperature, pace in dirty air, balance in fast corners, and electrical energy consumption. The car seemed to have no competitive soul, nor even a clear area of strength. And the most alarming thing is that the supposed technical updates do not work. During the weekend at Lusail, Ferrari introduced a series of suspension and downforce adjustments designed to stabilize the rear axle. But instead of improving, the car became even more unstable when changing direction. What was supposed to be a solution became another symptom of the underlying problem. The SF25 does not have a solid foundation on which to build. Even from the technical cabin, the gestures said it all. The engineer's body language was bewildered. The internal questions are no longer whether you can win, but whether you can even compete. It is not understood how a team that has access to the best wind tunnels, state-of-the-art simulators, and a multi-million-dollar budget can give Hamilton a car that is closer to the middle group than the top. And this brings us to a critical point: the disconnection between pilot and machine. Hamilton is a driver who bases his confidence on the feeling with the car. You need it predictable, precise, and adaptable to your style. But what he found in Ferrari was a car that does the opposite. It betrays you in the corner where you least expect it. That constant betrayal not only ruins laps, it ruins races and ruins seasons. The problem is even more serious when we observe that it is not an isolated case. Charles Leclerc has also suffered the same type of problems. In fact, in some sessions he has chosen not to follow the team's setup suggestions and revert to older, less aggressive, but more stable setups. It is a clear symptom that pilots have stopped trusting the technical development process. And in Formula One, trust is not optional. It is the foundation on which victories are built. If a driver doesn't believe in his car, he won't attack. If you don't attack, you don't compete. And if you don't compete, you're lost. Ferrari finds itself at a silent crossroads. The car does not improve, the solutions do not arrive, and the star driver no longer finds motivation to fight against a system that does not respond. The technical abyss is not only measured in tenths per lap, it is measured in radio silence. The SF25 fails to heat the tires correctly in short runs, nor to keep them alive in long runs. It suffers from instability in the rear axle, which forces drivers to make constant corrections that degrade the compound faster. This situation, in circuits like Qatar, where mechanical grip and race pace are essential, leaves Ferrari completely exposed. But the most frustrating thing for engineers is that the car is unpredictable. The simulator data and the results on the track do not match. The correlation is weak. Each session becomes an experiment. Every race in a lottery. There is no consistency. And without consistency, there is no progress. In this environment, even the brightest talent cannot flourish. Leclerc, who has proven on numerous occasions to be one of the best qualifiers on the grid, does not find confidence in the car. And Hamilton, who arrived hoping to apply his experience at Mercedes, finds himself with a team that doesn't understand how to apply its own updates. In fact, one of the most symbolic moments of the Qatar GP was during practice on Friday. 3 different configurations were tested on the rear suspension. None worked. The car lost stability and top speed, 2 elements that should not be compromised together. These types of technical contradictions indicate that the SF25 was built on a concept that was not adequately validated in the development phase. And if that weren't enough, Ferrari faces an even deeper problem: internal fragmentation. In post-race technical meetings, each department seems to have a different explanation. The aerodynamic data does not match the simulation data. Telemetry reports are debated rather than accepted. And in the midst of all this, pilots are trapped, not knowing whether they should trust the information they receive or follow their intuition. That's why Hamilton's silence on the radio hurt so much. Because it reflected what was already beginning to be noticed within the team, that there is no clear leadership, that the answers do not come, that more is being improvised than what is being planned. And in Formula One, improvisation is the shortest path to failure. Ferrari today is not competing with McLaren, Mercedes, or Red Bull. You are competing against your own decisions, against the anxiety of not failing, against the pressure of being forced to win without having the tools to do so. This is not a problem with a bad car. It is the symptom of a deeper illness, the loss of technical identity. The SF25 is not slow just by design. It is slow because it is misunderstood. And until Ferrari regains its ability to build on a solid, validated, and coherent concept, it won't matter how many stars wear the red jumpsuit. Because no driver, no matter how great, can compete with a car that was built to be fast, but ended up being unstable, contradictory, and emotionally devastating. The most alarming thing about what happened in Qatar is not the result itself. It's not even the performance of the car. What is really disturbing is the general feeling that Lewis Hamilton no longer expects anything. Not from Ferrari. Not the SF25. Not this season. And that indifference in someone who has built his career on an insatiable hunger for victory is a red flag for the entire paddock. British media are already questioning whether Hamilton should have signed with Ferrari. The first columns in Italy are beginning to suggest that perhaps the problem is not the car, but the driver. The narrative is changing. And in Formula One, that is often the prelude to awkward moves, tense negotiations, and internal fractures. Ferrari can no longer afford another lost year. Because 2026 is approaching with a new technical regulation, a new hybrid era, and a complete reconfiguration of the competitive order. Every race in 2025 matters not just for the points, but for what it reveals about the team's DNA. And right now, Ferrari's DNA is fragmented. There is no address. There is no visible evolution. There are no signs of learning. For Hamilton, this could be his last project in Formula One. He came to Maranello not only to win races, but to leave a legacy. But so far, what he has found is frustration, confusion, and silence. A silence that is heard louder than any engine. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.